Welcome to this session on Python introduction. To get started, we will first address the basic concept of Python, which we should know before we start programming. And before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Rohit. I have 12 years of experience in automation industries. Let's get started. What is Python? In this, we have topic in which we will study what is Python, why we use Python, and who are the users and about the invented timelines. Now, what is Python? Well, to understand, it's a simple object oriented programming language, but with a very dynamic approach that enables us to use this language to the extent of artificial intelligence, machine learning. That means we can use the basic OOPS principle with a lot of dynamics. Again, it is as much easy that the second developer can run and understand the code written by the first developer. And again, it is easy to program. If I compare it with Perl, it is as much beautiful with color coded and beautifully used object oriented features such as like polymorphism and inheritance. Why Python? Now to answer that, we have some parameters. Very first parameter is the quality of software, which start with the quality as in script that we are writing, quality as in the product that we are delivering, quality in terms of the deployability. That means how easy it can combine with different operating system. In general, the Python is very much supportive with different OS in terms of different capabilities. If I talk about next thing, which is developers' productivities, then it covers easiness as much you cannot compare with C++ and Java because it's just like a one-fifth in terms of the complexity. So it is less to debug and again less to maintain. That means you can easily code and deploy within no time. If I talk about the portability, that means again you can use with the Windows, you can use with the Linux, you can use the OS, whatever you have in your system. So there is no restriction. That means it supports all the major OS platform. In terms of the library, it is one of the most greatest resource out there in the world which support most of the libraries. If I talk about the main one, Scikit, which is for the scientific research, then the Matplotlib, which is again for deploying and displaying all those graphs. If I talk about the pandas for machine learning, creating the static analysis, all those libraries are very much supported in Python within single line. If I talk about the integration, that means it is very easy to communicate with other part of application. If I talk about talking in the sense of Excel, talking in the sense of MS Access, you might need have the different application in your system, which include the Microsoft platform, which include DW. Python supports every level of API integration mechanism. At last, if you cover all those things like the software developer, productivity, program portability, support library, and integration, that whole package becomes the enjoyment. That means you have all those things with an extra set of tool sets, which makes it is pleasurable. Let's understand some basic thing about the Python in terms of origination of Python. So it was invented in the 90s by Guido van Rossum. Now, this was named as Monty Python because that was the name of a group. It's just a comedy group. Now, again, this means it is very fun and easy to use. Again, it is an open source. That means you can download from any of the link provided below in this description of this video. Also, you can just go and directly find the Python download. So again, it is an interpreted language. That means every line is going to be run and processed before the second line. So there is no compilation or a whole program is not going to run one time. It is always going to be one by one. If I talk about the scripting language, it is not just simple, it is scalable. That means you can scale as per your need. It's have all those principle. It is very functional. That means you can create modules, you can create functions, you can recall it, you can have recursion in the program. So it's pretty much awesome. Now, if we talk about the jobs, I think you should be searching that on Naukri portal or Indeed, for which we have a link down below. Just go and see how much popular is between the top notch, which is the Java, JavaScript, PHP, and you can see the ranking, how much popular this is becoming nowadays. Now let's see who are the real user of Python. The very first is the YouTube, who was originally coded in MySQL and Python. And nowadays, it uses most of the biggest machine learning algorithm to recommend the right content to the right people. The second user is Yahoo, who acquired the 411. Now, this was the real one coded and implemented in the Python itself. Again, the map app used Python. If I talk about the third one, which is Dropbox, the server is basically built on Python and written in Python. They are the hosting services which provide all those file services to the users. Now, if I talk about the fourth one, which is the Google and very one renowned, which is mainly component written in Google Spider and search engine, which is the mainly written in Python, allow user to search on very fast pace with the help of SE. Next, we have Soap Corporation, who invented a Bluebeam, which is a powerful web application. And the link is down below. You can just check it. Again, built on Python. Then we have a Shopzilla, which is very famous shopping site, which uses configuration management and do all the testing on the Python itself. Then we have the UltraSeek service, which is basically 11,000 11,000 lines of code written in Python and again deployed in Django servers, create the HTML template within 17,000 lines of. Then we have a Yum, which is a PM utility for RPM compatibility on basis Linux operating system, again written on Python. Next, we have for the end user. Now, if I talk about the end user, they don't know, where they're going to use, but they know there's problem and they need to solve. So if the problem is you need to have a script to be ready, you need to create a script. That means you need a Python. If you need to process any image for the artificial intelligence or for the face recognition, then you need a Python. Even if you need a database management need to be configured or implement, you can have the Python. Again, talking about the web scraping or internet scripting, you need a Python. Again, talking about the major one, which is artificial intelligence, always you need a Python to get rid of lots of data and doing a deep analysis. If I talk about creating an API like the mobile app or any sort of Microsoft app, you need a GUI app, which includes Tkinter, GTK, etc. for the Windows. Again, there are some utility functions that you can make using the Python, such as cleaning your system, cleaning some drive, removing unnecessary space, or maintenance. You can write those things in Python as well. Next, we have uses of Python in web development. Now, if I talk about web industries, we always need a Python. Why? Because it is more have functionality. It is more on, writing pure line of code. So that means if you create a web page, if you create a website, you know how much need to be written in terms of the HTML, in terms of the hosting platform. All those things can be done in Python within just few lines. If you want to create a Django, which is huge nowadays in terms of the financial world, in terms of the fintech, there are lots of things happening because of the easiness of web development technologies provided by Django along with the Python. Again, it is very flexible and can easy cop up and work with different platform which are for web. For example, Django, Pyramid, Flask, and Tornado. There are such components which is strictly for web development and Python can easily cop up and work. Now most of the people, even you, might be looking this video because of the Django. Because Django is the model that can provide you a domain, a code class. Also, it allows you to have your ORM so that you can focus on your effort on user interface without looking into connecting different models like the view, the URL, all those things has been taken care in the ORMs. Next, we have the timeline, the history of Python. So the very first version, which is 1.0, invented in January 1994, after which there was a 1.5 version got released in 31st of December 1997, which follows with 1.6 in September 2000. And then it came up with the new functionality add-ons Python 2.0, which is in October 16, 2000. And then it followed 2.1 in April 17, 2001, then 2.2 in December 21, then 2.3 in July 29, 2003, followed by 2.4 November 30, 2004, 2.5 September 19, 2006, then 2.6 in October 1st, 2008, and at the last 2.7 July 3, 2010. After which there was several modification in terms of the syntax, in terms of the latest availability of libraries. Final version was 3.x because still it's in the use and it's still growing up. So let's start with the very first version, the final 3.0 invented in 3rd December 2008. So it got released. After which we get lots of release from 3.1 to 3.9, starting from June 2009, 3.2 in February 2011, 3.3 in 29th of September 2012, 3.4 in 16th of March 2014, 3.5 on 13th September 2015, 3.7 on 27th June 2018, then 3.8 on 14th October 2019, and the recent one 3.9 on 5th October 2020. So right now we will be working on 3.9. So let's talk about the summary and let's recall the topic. The recent one that we covered is the Python timeline. We started from very first version to 3.x. Then we've also learned what is Python and we also understand why we need Python. And we have also identified the user of Python and why users use that Python application. I hope you like it. Thank you so much.